KARS is one of the highest and coldest cities of Turkey, with a population of approximately 250,000 people and neighbors with Çıldır, Ağrı, Erzurum, Ardahan, and Armenia. Visitors often overlook this province as they are unaware of the amazing natural wonders, historical landmarks, and the mixture of influences that the city has. But now, thanks to the growing popularity of Eastern Express train that runs between Ankara and KARS, the city is becoming a prominent tourism destination in Turkey. In this video, we have gathered the best sites in KARS and some of its traditional dishes. We took the famous Eastern Express train from Erzurum, and after 5 hours on the train, we finally arrived in KARS and just took a taxi to our hotel in the city center. If you want to know more details about the train, such as prices and where to book the tickets, then please give us a thumbs up in this video. So finally we are in this beautiful city, and after arriving in KARS from Erzurum and after taking the Eastern Express train, finally we can have the chance of exploring this marvelous city. And why am I saying that it is marvelous and so interesting? Because this city has a mixture of different cultures and influences such as Kurdish, Armenians, Azeri, Turkish, and many others, so even Russians. So that is why this city will be quite interesting to learn about it. And well, if you want to keep exploring this beautiful city with us, then welcome to KARS. So once again, we have the pleasure of having our friend and guide, Isa Babur. So we are going to be exploring KARS together, and I cannot wait to see all the places.
Yes, we are going to explore the KARS together, as you say. And we are going to start from the 16th century Ottoman bridge, stone bridge. And then we are going to see the castle, to see the old city view. It has a very nice city view. And then we are going to come down and go to Grand Mosque of the city. It's also 16th century Ottoman monument. And then we are going to see the Holy Apostle Church, built on the 10th century, but right now is the mosque, it's converted mosque. And we're also going to see the Sufi shrine, Abul Hasan al-Harakani, who was the master of the Rumi also. And his shrine and the tomb is here. We are going to just briefly visit him. And then we are going to explore the old Russian architecture on the city and also see some nice Armenian buildings also. This is briefly what we are going to do until the noon, and then we are going to have this nice lunch and some local foods. They have the very delicious food here. Then we are going to take the taxi, go to Ani and see this holy medieval Armenian site. It's a very important site for the Armenian and also for the World Heritage. Then we are going to go to Çıldır Lake, have the slides on the frozen lake. So this is what we are going to do briefly today in the KARS.
So we are so ready, so let's get going. The center of KARS has a very interesting architecture because we can find the mixture between the buildings. We can find buildings from the Russian occupation, and you can easily identify them for their architecture. And also we will see a lot of course, like the Turkish type buildings. So yeah, I mean, the streets are quite interesting here. So basically the Russian occupation in KARS was from 1887 to 1917. And that is why we can still see a lot of these buildings like the one behind me. This one used to be a mansion that used to belong to one of the Armenian families living in KARS. But after the Russians left the city in 1917, they also left the city. So basically this mansion was abandoned for many years, but during that time it also worked as a hospital and conservatory, and it had different functions. Later on it was turned into a hotel, but the only condition to turn it into a hotel was to keep the original name of the Armenian family that used to own this house. That means the family Chaltikov. So when in KARS, also don't forget to try the local soups, because also they have very good flavors. And in our case, we try to order 3 different soups so we can try a little bit of everything. And right now I'm trying the local one from the area, which is made of bulgur, which is this type of rice or grain, and then different local herbs and spices. So this one is really good, especially for the cold weather. Also, we have another one that also we tried previously in Erzurum, which is called the Yayla, and another one which is special from this restaurant, which is pushki or something like that. But yeah, they are really good. These are so good. And especially for the weather, they're good. This stone bridge was built in 1579 by Lala Mustafa Pasha, but later on the bridge was destroyed by a flood and it was rebuilt in the 1700s. We can find it just below the castle. Just as many other monuments in the city, this Ulu Mosque or Grand Mosque was also built in 1579. But throughout the time it was heavily damaged as a result of earthquakes and conflicts in the region. But in the 2000s it was fully restored and opened to worship in 2009. This mosque was built in the 10th century by the Armenians, and its name was the Holy Apostles' Church. And you might ask yourself why they have its name. Well, because outside you can see on top, you will be able to see the figures that represent the 12 apostles. And this place actually had different transitions within the centuries. So it also became a mosque, and then also during the Russian occupation, it also became an Orthodox church, and then a mosque once again. So that is why we can see different influences of each one of these groups in this place. For example, here we can see the crosses, but of course since right now it's a mosque and this is haram, so that's why they cut in half the crosses, but they kept all of this inside the mosque as well. It was also built in 1579. And it was named for the tomb of Ebul Hasani Harakane, who was an important Sufi who came to Anatolia and who is buried here. The Ottoman Sultan Murad III ordered the construction of this mosque just next to his tomb. This is the Fethiye Mosque in KARS, and this one, it was built in 1885, but it was built as a Russian Orthodox church. Even nearby there is a military base, and this church was built mainly for them. But 100 years later, which means in 1985, this church was turned into a mosque. Even there were 2 towers before, but in the 1960s they were demolished and they built the minarets. From the interior, it's pretty much plain. And now we can see small calligraphies, and that is pretty much it. But the architecture, we can still see the mixture of both cultures. Don't forget to enjoy the Aşık tradition, where artists recite poetry in accordance with tradition, tell stories, and generally play the saz. This tradition is not only the cultural memory of Anatolia, but it is also an important expression of its cultural diversity and richness. Since 2009, it's been on the list of UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity.
Burada her gün programlar oluyor. Sizin gibi değerli misafirler geliyor. Biz de aşıklık geleneğini yaşatmaya çalışıyorum burada. Bu arada burada 4 aşırı, Bahattin Yıldızoğlu, Sabri Yokuş, Gültekin Bulutoğlu, ben de Aşık Mahmut Karataş. Saygıyla, hürmetle selamlıyorum, hoş geldiniz. Kervan yüce dağdan geçer, dost elinden bade içer. İki kral, bir kraliçe, gazı gazı, hoş geldiniz. Hoş geldiniz, hoş geldiniz. Aşıklara hoş geldiniz. Kaderine boyun bükme, dert üstüne dertler ekme. Beni siyah beyaz çekme, gazı gaza hoş geldin. Beni siyah beyaz çekme, gazı gaza hoş geldin. Söz söyleyin bana kızma, olur olmaz sözü yazma. Meksikalı kız çok karizma, gazı gaza hoş geldin. Hoş geldiniz, hoş geldiniz. Gazı gaza hoş geldiniz.
Also, if you would like to take gifts or just try something traditional from this area, we highly recommend you to try the cheese, because also KARS is very famous for its production of cheese. Even around here, around 40 or 45 minutes away, you will find a village called Boğatepe, and they are specialized in making the KARS cheese. So in our case, we bought this one as well, which is called the Eski Kaşar Peynir, which is like the old cheese from KARS, and actually this place is very close to the castle, so you will be able to see it. In our case, we decided hiring a taxi driver for the full day, who also took us all the way to the archaeological site of Ani. The entrance fee per person is only 22 Turkish liras, but also the museum pass Türkiye is accepted.
We are in Ani, medieval Armenian site. It's one of the most important sites for the Armenian people, and we are gonna see some Armenian churches and a cathedral, but not only churches or a cathedral, but we are gonna also see a very beautiful mosque. One of the earliest mosques was built by the Kurdish dynasty Shaddadis, and we are gonna see a beautiful palace was built by the Seljuks, Turkish Seljuks. And we are gonna see another church was built by Georgians. We are gonna see also the very early sample of the fire temple built by the Zoroastrian people which was the Armenian people belief or religion before the Christianity. And also this place was ruled by by the Armenian, by the Kurdish dynasty, by the Seljuks, was ruled by the Persian and the Roman also. And there was a Roman temple just other side of the border called the Garni. It's very well protected. So after the Muslim, they also ruled by the Ottomans, and for a short time of the period also the Russians ruled in this region. And then the modern Turkey, it's ruled by the modern Turkey. It was also World Heritage 2016. There was a big earthquake in the 14th century, early 14th century. After the 14th century, the people start to abandon this city, and at the 15th century, it was almost abandoned. And so, since the almost 5th century, there was no one living here, and there is a close village the other side of the wall. But the closest city is the KARS, is 40 kilometers away from here.
All right,
Yeah.
so thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
So if you are ready to discover this fabulous site, which we highly recommend you coming here, plus from here also you will be able to see the borders with Armenia. So as you can see, this site is full of history. So let's discover it together. This palace probably dates from the late 12th or 13th century. It's believed that King Aşık chose the architect who designed the Cathedral of Ani to build his church, and it was probably erected between the years 1001 and 1005. Just as many other churches in the city, this also stands at the edge of the valley. It's believed to date back to the late 10th century and to have been commissioned by Prince Grigor Pahlavoni as a private chapel for the Pahlavoni family. This mosque was built at the very edge of the valley, and it is overlooking the border of Armenia. It is said to have been founded by the Emir Minuchir. He was the first of the Shaddadi dynasty that ruled Ani from around the year 1072 onwards. This cathedral is the most important of Ani sites, and it was built during the strongest period of the Armenians, which was in the late 10th centuries. And one important point of this one is that the architect who built this cathedral was taken to Constantinople, now Istanbul, in order to fix the dome of the Hagia Sophia. From this part of the site, we can have outstanding views, because here basically we have the border with Armenia. So this is the closest part that we can be from Armenia. Even many centuries ago, they had bridges connecting both countries, Turkey and Armenia. As you can see from there, also we can see some ruins from one bridge that was built many centuries ago. And also because this area was very important for the trading, so also that's why they have this. And also up there we can see the Acropolis, which the Acropolis also is where the most important people were living in there. And well, I mean, this is an amazing place to visit. Its inscription reveals that this church was commissioned by a wealthy merchant named Tigran Honens and was completed in the year 1215. At that time, Ani was under Georgian control, and this church is believed to have been devoted to the Georgian Orthodox Rite. The interior is entirely covered with frescoes of the same date as the church. They have two main themes: the life of Christ and the life of Saint Gregory the Illuminator, to whom the church was dedicated. According to some inscriptions found during some excavations in the site, it's believed that this church dates back to the 13th century, when Ani was under Georgian control. This is the second largest lake in eastern Anatolia, and it starts to freeze at the beginning of winter, and that is why it attracts tons of visitors every year. We can find this lake about 40 or 45 kilometers away from KARS, and is between the borders of the provinces of Ardahan and KARS. At the moment, the ice thickness is 20 centimeters, but actually sometimes when the winter is way stronger in this area, it can even have 40 centimeters. And when fishermen also come here for fishing, they need to break all the ice. And also around the area, we will find many restaurants selling the fish from this lake. In this lake, you can also find horse sledges. They take you for a small fee to see more of the lake, but to be honest, I'm not into these kind of activities. That is why I didn't want to pay for the ride. This is the castle of KARS and will offer us amazing views of the city. This fortification, the original one, was built in the 1100s, but throughout the centuries, it was destroyed so many times. So it was built and then destroyed and then rebuilt and then destroyed. So basically this fortification is not like the original one from the 1100s, but here, this is what we can see right now. The entrance fee per person is only 10 Turkish liras, but also here the museum pass Türkiye is valid. In order to defend KARS, 46 bastions were built in the city center by the Ottoman Empire in the 18th and 19th centuries. These were built in order to protect the eastern borders of the empire from Russian and Iranian attacks. Here we can find different sections, from a timeline of the Ottoman-Russian War, letters and poems written by the soldiers, wax figures recreating the scenes when soldiers were cured, operated in surgery rooms, and had a rest in dorms, and war tools that were used in the bastion and battlefields in that period, and also some photos of soldiers are displayed at the museum. This place definitely will take the spectators on a historical journey. Just as in Erzurum, here you can also enjoy winter sports in the famous ski resort Sarıkamış, which is located just 40 kilometers away from KARS city center. To end our day, we decided having a nice dinner with traditional dishes of KARS at a nice restaurant that used to be a historical hammam, and it is just next to the stone bridge. Every night the place has live music, and here we ate some regional dishes such as shredded goose meat dish, which is a must try if you are in KARS, a meat that is quite similar to eating duck. Hingelmante is a type of ravioli, known as a Central Asian and Caucasian dish. This other dish is called piti kebab, which is also known as bozbash. It's made in all cities in the eastern Anatolian region. It's mainly made of piece of lamb meat and chickpeas placed on top of lavash. They also brought us many different type of mezeler, which in my personal opinion, I love them. I'm a big fan of meze. After our dinner, we also enjoy a beautiful and traditional Caucasian night, where a local group presented beautiful dances. Without a doubt, KARS is a province that will surprise you. I have never been this far when it comes to traveling within Türkiye. The place was way beyond my expectations, and the mixture of cultures here, it's just unbelievable. Being in the medieval city of Ani, that once was the capital of the Armenian kingdom and one of the largest and most important cities of its time, was a unique experience. Such sites need to be preserved and most importantly remembered. So this was our day exploring the beautiful city of Kars and surrounding areas. And I would like to personally thank Isa for his amazing services, and he was so patient with us exploring Erzurum, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that video, we would like to invite you to go check it out because he also shows us everything in Erzurum. As well, we are going to be sharing all of his information on the screen, so in case that you would like to explore the area with him, you can also contact him directly. So thanks a lot for watching our video, and if you want to keep receiving more tips about Istanbul and Turkey in general, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next time. Bye bye.